Welcome, everyone, to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. It is a great pleasure to be joined today by former diplomat of Israel, Eli Yerushalmi. Eli, thank you so much for sitting with me today.
Always a pleasure.
Eli, it's been a long time. I feel like there's so much we have to review and discuss and hear your master opinion on. But first, which is really what is on everyone's mind, is the mayor election in New York and this sweep of the incoming mayor, Zohran Mamdani. What can you share with us? How do you think this new mayor will directly impact Israel's national security?
Well, first of all, I gotta say, I was pretty stunned like everybody else. In the last few weeks, we knew this was coming, but still, the moment it came, it's a shock, no doubt. This is in a way a new America, and I gotta tell you that I grew up part of my life in New York, and I feel very close to New York, and it kind of hits you. And I have family in New York, so it kind of hits you personally. This Mamdani coming in. What it basically means for Israel, as you know, our relations with the United States, that's one of the pillars, if not the main pillar, of Israel's national security. And the fact that, let's say today we have President Trump, who's such a favorable president to Israel, this brought Israeli-American relations to a different level. But we also had, in the past, we had people like Obama and Biden and others who are very, you can say, anti-Israel. So we always knew that in American politics, you had a kind of, balance between those who are for us, those who are against us. But basically, the mainstream in the United States, both Republican and Democrat, were for the state of Israel. Thinking about the Holocaust, thinking about the past and so on. I think what we see now with Mamdani, with the progress in the United States, the woke in the United States, this is a different world. These people are already on a different mindset. Israel has no importance to them. Israel is actually, for many of them, is an enemy. And for Israel, this is the Mamdani victory in New York is a strong signal that things might change, and the relations with the United States are not going to be the same. We'll have to work on it very carefully. We already see the streams going on in the universities. We see the Qatari money that's pouring into the United States, and partially caused what we saw in New York. And I don't know if you noticed, in the last few hours, ISIS put out a message of congratulations to Mamdani, saying that he's the forefront of Islam, and this is a conquer of New York, and this is part of conquering the Western world. Knowing what's happening in the United States and other countries, Canada, Australia, Western Europe, so on, this is very, very dangerous, very risky. We're in a brand new ball game. And Mamdani being an anti-Semite, which he probably is, or not, or how he's going to treat the Jewish community and all that in the United States, that of course, has great importance. I wouldn't like to be living in New York right now, tell you the truth. But the effects for the future are tremendous, and it doesn't look good.
You brought up a very important point, that there's really two impacts. One is what Mamdani himself will facilitate, but perhaps bigger than that, we know, for example, Sinwar, when he was sitting in Israeli prisons watching Channel 12, he was gaining insight in how he could then act and what society would support. So ISIS, Hamas, Hezbollah, Qatar, they're drawing their own conclusions about the next round of jihad potentially that they can launch on the world. So do you think this empowers the jihadists around the world?
No doubt. Meaning, I heard Mamdani saying, telling the Jewish community they have nothing to worry about, and he'll stand by the Jewish community and he'll combat anti-Semitism and so on. But in the eyes of the Islamic world, this is a major victory. because their intent of a lot of them, the extremists for sure, but they're the ones who are setting the tone in the Islamic world. They are out to conquer the world. You can see that in Europe. The Europeans already feel that, and the fact that he's taking control over Mamdani took control over New York. That is a wow. I still remember myself. On 9/11, watching the attack on New York, and I couldn't believe it. Now I'm not sure what's worse, the attack on the towers, the physical attack on New York, or the actual, in a way, the conquer of New York by these Islamic radicals. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and Israel and the Jewish world, we have to start, thinking quickly, because this is part of a trend which is really worldwide.
So as an ambassador, you know very well how to properly diplomatically represent Israel and its issues. And a lot of people will say, well, look, Mamdani's not anti-Jewish, he's not anti-Semitic, he's anti-Israel, and there is a difference. How do you debunk that? How do you explain, no. Being anti-Israel is just code word for anti-Semitism. How do you explain that to people?
Basically saying, you cannot take Israel, as one country in the world and only focus on Israel. This is something unbelievable. It reminds me of the story of there's the Human Rights Committee in the United Nations, and about 90% of the subjects in the Human Rights Committee are concerning Israel, and the rest of the other countries in the world, which are not exactly into human rights, like Iran, Syria, Korea, North Korea, and others, get away with it easily in this kind of setup, and it's only Israel. And one of the secretaries in the committee forgot to close her mic, and she said to her friend, and then everybody heard it because she was with an open mic. She said, "I don't understand it. There's only one country in this world. There's only one country that this committee deals with," and everybody kind of laughed. The fact that you deal only with Israel has nothing to do with Israel itself. There's something special about Israel, and the special about Israel is that it's a Jewish state, and the matter of Israel is, do you recognize the Jewish state or not, or do you recognize the Jewish existence, which a lot of Christians and Muslims have problems with, or not? So it automatically connects you to the issue of anti-Semitism. You cannot, make a difference between Israel and the Jewish world.
For sure. Okay, let's now talk about things more local to us here in Israel. Gaza. We've been waiting forever to destroy Hamas. And there was parts in this war where it seemed like it was imminent, and then it stalled. And I think we're in one of those stalls right now. Will Hamas be destroyed? What is your read on the ground in Gaza?
My read is yes. President Trump said that he's going to destroy Hamas. There's a plan out there which says that Gaza is going to be demilitarized, that Hamas eventually will be destroyed. And so on and so forth. This is not an American-Israeli plan. This is already a world plan. The Arab countries already agreed on this. So he's moving forward. Let's say today, I heard the minister Smotrich. He said, I don't believe Hamas, and I don't think we're getting there in this kind of a scenario. But he said that President Trump, managed to get out 20 of our hostages alive, something that a lot of us didn't believe will happen in that way. So he said, let's give the Americans time and let's see if they manage to pull it. If you ask, Israelis, what do they think about it? Most Israelis are skeptic. We know exactly what world we're living in. Hamas will not change its ways. And now even with, coming back to Mamdani, they see the, Islamic victory in the world. So they see themselves, on the winning side, and therefore they have nothing to give up. And even, they see President Trump saying, we're giving you another 24 hours, 48 hours in this, And meanwhile, they're dragging and dragging, and every day we get another body and so on. And meanwhile, they're building up and all that. I think the decision in Israel is to give the United States time, not too much time, because Hamas meanwhile is building up its forces and so on. But we're giving them time, and then we'll see what happens. We are going to go according to the Trump plan, and so far, the president, whatever he promised, pretty much, is there. And now he gave this grand promise on the future of Gaza and Hamas and all that. Let's hope it's going to work. Personally, and a lot of Israelis are skeptic, but let's see what happens. We have to be positive.
When push comes to shove, if the world is against, if the US is against, do you think Israel has the strength of character to push ahead and destroy Hamas, understanding it must be done, or will we just buckle to world or political pressure?
I think that eventually Israel will not buckle to pressure, because what will happen is Hamas is an organization that has on its banners and flag and covenant the destruction of the state of Israel. They are not going to sit silent. They're going to do something, and doing something that means militarily. They might even try to perform another 7th of October. You can't know. They're capable of it. They have the power. They're still they're dug in, and they have the power. So I think what will happen eventually is that they will cause things to happen. They're not going to sit quietly. And as time passes, it's also it's an embarrassment for the United States saying so and so and so is going to happen, and this is what everybody agreed to, and then nothing's going to happen. If nothing is going to happen, we're all of us, meaning not only Israel, the United States, the whole Western world, we're in a big problem, because then they'll see that we're powerless. We're not doing what we promised everybody to do.
Now, in order to arrive at that deal in Gaza, we know that the U.S. and Israel has had to negotiate with terrorists, quite literally. And to a certain extent, many people would argue that that is doing irreparable damage to Israel, because now Hamas has been invited to the negotiation table. Qatar, it's normal now to talk and make deals with Qatar. Turkey, that wants to destroy Israel, no problem. We'll make a deal with Turkey, with the U.S., because it's for the greater good. But does all of this eventually erode our diplomatic power in the world and bring these terrorist entities to kind of normal civil discourse?
Well, this is a very, very tough question. I mean, no doubt that a lot of what you said now is true. But this is a gamble you have to take. Let's say to take the 20 hostages out, you wouldn't be able to do it if you're not talking through the United States with Qatar, and through Qatar with Hamas, and Turkey's involved, and so on. So this is part of a very dangerous game in which we're trying to achieve our goals through this game. And to give you an example, Erdogan of Turkey is an anti-Semite, an anti-Israeli. He wants to wipe us off the map of the earth. I mean, I have no doubt about that. So he wants a return of the Ottoman Empire back to the Middle East, and he was dreaming that that part of the forces that are going to be in the international units in Gaza are going to be Turkish. And here Netanyahu said to Trump, "No way! If any Turk enters the Gaza Strip, he's going to be unarmed, and he's going to deal only with humanitarian and civilian issues. That's the compromise." So we're compromising almost on everything. I mean, this international force is going to be built of Indonesian and Azerbaijani and Emirates and so on. These countries are kind of today they're Muslims, all of them, but they also have a kind of rapport with Israel. So it's a game that we have to play in order to achieve our goals. Goal one was to get the hostages out, and here we almost succeeded completely. And the second is to form a new Gaza, which is going to be again demilitarized, no Hamas, and so on. If this works or not, this is part of the game. Meaning, again, I'm a bit skeptic, but the hostages issue proved me wrong. Meaning, we actually, President Trump, and through the agreement and through the arrangement, got them all out, which is really unbelievable. So here we are. It's a game. It's an uncomfortable, but we have to play here a very complicated diplomatic game.
Do you think that the U.S. and really Israeli officials understand the danger of that these countries present, but they were just forced into this position because they wanted to get the hostages back? Or do you think this is really opening up channels of negotiations, of peace deals, of discussions with these countries like Qatar, for example? Meaning it's not just get the hostages back and therefore we do it, but no. This is a new era of U.S. and Israeli diplomacy where we're going to try to reach out to Qatar or Turkey.
It's a new era, no doubt. Qatar is a question. Meaning Qatar, I think, is the source of evil, not only in the Middle East but in the whole world, and their money is funding things which are completely against all of us. The fact that the United States has a special relationship with Qatar, I got to tell you the truth, it's a problem for us. No doubt, Qatar is an enemy, have no doubt about it, and maybe our greatest enemy. Turkey right now is an enemy, but if you look at Turkey, you can see that there are actually two Turkeys, if you want. You have this Islamic Turkey represented by Erdogan, and you have a very modern Turkey, which is completely against Erdogan and wants Turkey to go to the West and renew relationships with Israel and so on. So again, this is part of an ongoing process, meaning if you ask me, I think that countries like Turkey and Egypt are going to replace Iran as the main enemy of Israel and add to those countries Qatar. I think this is where the world is going to on the long run. And this is the major danger. Egypt is definitely on a clash course with us. They stood very firmly on the issue of Gaza, not to allow any Gazans to go into the Sinai and to Egypt itself. Why? Because the Egyptian philosophy, since the creation of the state of Israel, has been that the Gazans are Palestinian refugees that have to go back home, meaning back to Israel itself. And the moment millions of refugees pour into Israel, that's the end of the state of Israel. And they actually want to see the end of the state of Israel. Meaning Egypt is not, they're not Zionists. Have no doubt about it. I lived there for 2 years. I fought against them. I respect them very much. But these guys are out to kill us. Both the Islamists and the intellectuals who were not Islamists, they all hate us. But by the way, they hate the Palestinians even more. But that's already a different story. So I think that's where we're going after the weakening of Iran. Maybe even a regime change in Iran in the future, hopefully. I think the main worries for Israel are going to be this alliance between Egypt, Turkey, and Qatar.
So if we were to try to project 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, are things getting better or worse? Do you see a world where ideologically and values driven, Israel is isolated from the countries in the Middle East and even potentially the US? And the only kind of thing that's saving us are economic and military interests, kind of Abraham Accord style. There's a deal that's being received? Or do you think there is a way to return to democratic values and shared beliefs that we can kind of salvage Israel's diplomatic relations with all of these nations?
Well, basically you described the situation. I'm ambivalent. There's one good side, which is the Abraham Accords and what's going on there with the Arab world. Countries like Morocco, I think Indonesia is going to come in right now, probably Saudi Arabia, what's happening in the Gulf. I mean, the Arab world is changing. So there are a lot of things for the good, economic relations and so on. We have, tremendous and very good relations with India. So I think on that side, the world is going to a better place. But on the other hand, the world is going to a worse place. Mamdani proved it, that countries that we never believed, meaning New York went Islamic in a way, if you want, to kind of exaggerate it a little bit. But countries like Australia and Canada that I served in, I was actually the acting ambassador in both countries. I wouldn't ever believe, I'm talking about 20 to 30 years ago, that Canada and Australia are going to become enemies of Israel, the rise of anti-Semitism and all that. Unbelievable. And Western Europe, of course. Western Europe, by the way, is a lost case. Meaning there's nothing they can do. I see now the demonstrations in London and so on, saying, look, we're England, we're English, we're against the Palestinians, all this Arab invasion. They woke up too late. They lost it already. And the birth rates and all that. Western Europe in 20, 30 years is going to be Islamic. What's going to be left of Europe, amazingly, is Eastern Europe, because these countries don't allow the Muslims to come in. And they're considered fascists and racists and whatever. But countries like Poland and Hungary are standing firm because they know that if they allow millions of if Islamists to come in, they lost their nationality. So in a way, Israel is going to be isolated from countries like the whole of Western Europe, maybe even Australia and Canada. And who knows what's going to happen in the United States? The United States can also go the other way, and the United States, in a way, is in a kind of civil war, even if you wish, between right and left of these theories, and it's hard to know who's going to win there. So in that sense, the world is changing to the bad, looking at the Western world. On the other hand, in the Middle East itself, and as you look into Asia and so on, and Eastern Europe, things are actually getting better. So it's going to be complicated. No doubt that the future diplomats, I'm already on pension, but no doubt that future diplomats are going to have, a very, very interesting time in the next decades.
Former Ambassador Eli Yerushalmi, always a great pleasure to speak with you and to learn from you. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. Thank you, of course, to all of our viewers and supporters for tuning into this briefing. We will be back with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. in Israel. Until then, stay safe, stay strong. Take care, everyone.